What's the most real relationship advice you can give? Communication is the foundation upon which everything else is built. They say, don't go to bed angry. Not because anger does something while you're sleeping, but because it means you didn't communicate properly and you're giving up on trying. Be calm, actively listen, do not dismiss your partner's statements, and assume good faith. It's you and me versus the problem, not me versus you. If something is bugging you, talk to your significant other about it. If you feel enraged about something, wait until you're well-fed and well-rested with warm extremities before talking about it. But talk about it at the first opportunity. Calmly, rationally, and honestly. Keep the discussion limited to that one narrow thing. If something is bugging your significant other, hear them out. Never think, well, I'm not bothered by that, so it's not a problem. Think, my significant other is bothered by this, and that's a problem. If you think the concern is unreasonable, frame the discussion as solving the problem of your significant other being unhappy. The worst fights and arguments happen over trivial things, because it's not the trivial thing that's actually causing the problem. It's probably a series of things or a general lack of satisfaction, and the toothpaste cap being left off is just the instigator of the fight. If you communicate often and openly, these things will not fester. They won't pile up, and you won't get into such fights. Story 2. Character in action. Deep character is how a person behaves under stress. An instructor told me this in a writing seminar, but it's a great real-life observation about relationships. If you have someone who keeps focused and cool under pressure, value that individual. It's a magnificent character trait. If you're together with someone who rages at minor inconveniences and finds scapegoats instead of solutions, that's a person of weak character. Most of us are somewhere in between those two extremes. We can get better at it with effort. Yet, just because you work on building your character doesn't necessarily mean your significant other will make the same journey. A partner with especially bad character will take that effort for granted. It will never be enough. You could walk on eggshells all week, but then someone cuts them off at the intersection and you have to endure their curses. But I'm not yelling at you, they think, is a good enough excuse. They're still terrible company. Most people with weak character know how to keep focused and cool under pressure. They choose situations where they can get away with venting. They'll work on improvement for a little while, but they'll always relapse and usually get worse. They would rather get the upper hand than solve problems. It's easy to take a person with good character for granted because what they do seems effortless. Part of what they achieve is emotional maturity, but part of it takes real effort. All relationships take effort. Some are worth the effort, and some are not. Figure out whether there's enough strength of character on both sides to be worth the effort you put in. Story 3. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. If they're mean, if they're vindictive, if they use you, and if they show you that they don't really care about you, believe them. If they make you feel inadequate, on edge, scared, nervous, unworthy, or like a disappointment, believe them. If they're entitled, narcissistic, sociopathic, manipulative, or unfair, believe them. Life isn't a movie. You can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. More often than not, they just are who they are. So take off the rose-colored glasses and stop thinking that love will find a way. If it isn't working, change it. Don't spend your precious time lamenting over a person who wouldn't genuinely lament over you. This sounds bleak, I know, but relationship and love are supposed to be the most beautiful things in the universe. If your relationship is not improving your quality of life in the aggregate, you need to seriously reassess what you want in life because you deserve better. You only get so much time to find people in your life that make it worth living. Don't get caught up in people who will make you wish you never lived it. Story 4. I'm probably not going to get this right, but it hit me the hardest after spending 5 years in a toxic relationship. The idea that everyone in their lives is working towards creating a jigsaw is that each part of their life, be it work, relationships, or hobbies, make up parts of the jigsaw. Everyone's is different. Some people's careers makes up the edges, the less important and interesting parts of some people's relationships. What's important is the center of the puzzle. That's what people are working towards. Their lives have goals. When you're in a relationship, your puzzles combine, and you eventually start working towards a shared goal. You might make some compromises on what goes to the outer edges, but you should both be working towards the same center. Occasionally, it turns out that the centerpiece you were working towards with your significant other isn't what you thought it was. This sucks, and believe me, it really does, but there's nothing wrong with cutting your losses. If you go for a different jigsaw and the pieces don't fit, you won't get a coherent picture. Story 5. In random order and not necessarily related to one another, an ex is an ex for a reason. Coming back to someone is likely to repeat the same issues that you had the first time, unless you've both done a significant amount of growing or maturing. Do not waste your time repeating the same cycle over and over. Your lesson has been taught. You've completed the course. It's silly to pay to take it again. Date yourself. Be comfortable being single. It allows you to take time to work on yourself. Therapy is gold, and I wish more people would bite the bullet and go. Time to get to know yourself, and time to examine what your goals and wishes are. It's okay to be single and sleep around. Don't never let anyone shame you for getting some, but have some respect for yourself and don't trust someone you don't know to handle all the responsibilities of birth control. But keep in mind, you should do regular STD screenings if that's your choice. Relationships, marriages, and partnerships require work, communication, trust, and honesty. When you shut down, you can't expect everything to run smoothly. You may need time to yourself, that's fine, but communicate that before you bug off, disappear, or turn off your phone. Both of you need to be able to communicate effectively and speak each other's languages or you're doomed. SOs are not pets. You can't just live together, be best friends, and not speak the same language at all. No one should be dependent on their partner for anything. It's great that she generally handles all the laundry or that he budgets well and pays all the bills, but you need to know how to do those things too. If you find yourself in a situation where you've tried and failed at the marriage or relationship bit, it's okay to recognize that it's done. If offspring have appeared during that time, they're sneaky and can pop up in the most opportune times. You've signed yourself up for roughly 18 years with this person, whether you like it or not. I would never say to stay in a marriage or relationship because of kids. I've watched it happen and it's miserable for all parties. But co-parenting is now your new team sport. Whatever your personal feelings toward your partner, their relationship with your shared offspring is independent of that. A bad spouse or partner does not equal a bad parent. Always keep your children's happiness at the forefront and be civil, even if they aren't. It sucks, but it's worth it in the end. Story 6. I've been married for 20 years and polyamorous for 18 of those years. My best advice at this stage is there's no free pass moment. Relationships take work the whole time. For me, things changed for the better when I found myself craving that work rather than avoiding it. Focus on striving for health, contentment, and prosperity during conflicts and while setting goals as a couple. Not beauty, first love type bliss, or material wealth, as those things are more likely to be subjective, fleeting, unsatisfying, and non-sustainable. Don't get into the habit of going unconscious together in order to avoid dealing with problems. This includes overly dramatic fighting. Arguing is a type of dependency and deflection. Just talk plainly and calmly about what you need and want. So many couples get stuck deading, drinking, overeating, fighting, gaming, TV watching, etc. in order to deal with their unhappiness rather than dealing directly with the unhappiness. It's going to take a break from an issue. However, hiding from it can turn into a lifelong bad habit. And if you try to break out of it and your partner isn't ready, then that makes it even harder to change as an individual. So try not to start bad habits or enable bad habits early on. Become autonomous from in-laws and friend groups, both financially and emotionally, as a couple and as an individual. You can still have an amazing relationship and support system without being controlled by or dependent on them. Story 7. A real relationship doesn't begin until you know each other properly. Don't have unprotected relations with them for the first few months or so. Don't get joint bank accounts or jointly purchase things. Don't invest in the relationship until you know each other. That doesn't mean play around or don't be serious. 99% of the time, you both need to be monogamous with each other from day one. Once you've been together for a few months and have met friends and family and spent significant amounts of time together, you should have an idea of the person that you're with. At this point, you need to decide if you want to spend your life with them. Do not stay in a relationship with a mentality that you can leave at any time. This will just lead you to feel that you can do what you want, which will then make your partner feel disrespected. If you're in a relationship that you don't want to stay in forever, why bother? Why not find one you do want to stay in? Or why not just find someone to have casual relations with instead? Because what happens is that one partner will attach and the other will think, I can just leave at any time. This leads to a rift, which leads to relationship problems. And newsflash, when you have a baby together, joint finances, or your partner has strong relationships with your family or friends, you can't just leave anytime. You become too entangled, and breaking up is going to be super messy. If you don't think you want to stay with someone, don't get yourself into that mess in the first place. A relationship should be viewed as a permanent thing and not taken lightly. Be serious, or don't sleep around with people who are serious. Hey there, we're almost halfway. If you're finding value in these heartfelt relationship advices, show your appreciation by liking this video and subscribing for more. Thanks. Now let's get back to it. Story 8. Be honest. Figure out what you actually want and say if it's different. You'll be tempted to agree or want it because it's what they want. At some point, you'll fall out and feel weirdly cheated. Work out what you really want and avoid this. Don't cheat. If you want to cheat, wait until you're sober and then don't do it. If you think it's okay to do vaguely romantic things with someone else, talk about it with your partner first. And don't do it unless you get a non-coercive response. Sure is not a good sign. Polyamory is a thing, as are open relationships, but talk about it first. If in doubt, don't. Don't stay with someone to make up for how bad a partner you've been. In fact, generally stay clear of having to do something to make up for something, especially physical relations. Just because normal relationships include something doesn't mean you have to have it. Yes, this includes lovemaking. Several unhealthy behaviors are weirdly accepted by some people. Find your personal boundaries and stand by them. In general, I'd oppose using or looking at any electronic device you have altogether. If you think one day it makes you partners, you're wrong. If someone wants a straight-up commitment on a first date, you're basically taking potluck. Consider where there are any asymmetries in your relationship. If you notice you're not allowed to do a lot of things, that's probably a big warning sign. Story 9. A relationship is doomed to fail if it isn't built on a strong foundation. Many people end up in relationships because they're lonely, because they want to be socially accepted, because they're making up for their parents not being there, and because they're filling a void. The list goes on. I'm currently in a relationship that started with me fathering this woman. I was shelter, I was protection, I was always there, always encouraging, and always providing her with an escape from her terrible family. It felt good to have a damsel as a man, and I subconsciously wanted to be a father to someone because my own father left when I was 5. This has made it impossible for me to become a partner. No matter what I do, I cannot be perceived as an equal anymore. Me being an escape all the time has ruined this relationship because now that I need help with things in my life and can't give 100% anymore, it's seen as he doesn't love me. And if you're a parent to your partner, eventually your partner will not need parenting anymore. Just when you think you've raised them up high enough to where your dreams of a happy relationship can finally be real, they will fly away, just like you did with your own parents. You didn't need them anymore, so you left. But relationships aren't about needing. You should never need anyone. What I thought was doing good was actually enabling. I festered fears of abandonment for years without realizing it. Now we're at a crossroads and trying to decide what to do. Since we only know how to escape from one another, we have no idea how to love. Keep this in mind, people. This only ends in 2 ways, one much more likely than the other. Both parties can make the tremendous effort to be reborn and learn to love each other again, committing the relationship to something higher than itself. Or you will wither away. I'm hoping for the former. Before you jump into anything, look in the mirror. Give yourself a good shakedown and ask, what am I doing and why am I doing it? And be as honest as humanly possible. Wasted years are something you can never get back. Time is the most valuable thing you have. You want a partner in crime, a true friend. Remember, your spouse is to be your best friend. Friendships come first. Lovey-dovey stuff comes later. Story 10. Accept who your partner is 100% or move on. Actually, this probably applies to any kind of relationship. Everyone has flaws that are part of who they are. The most hurtful thing that you can do to someone is make them feel bad for simply being themselves. This isn't an excuse for blatantly bad behavior or to never seek self-improvement, but there are some things about your partner that will never change. You should recognize these things. Yes, they will probably always have that annoying habit. If they're a workaholic, they will probably stay one. Their ways of showing affection will probably stay the same, so it will better satisfy you. Either accept everything, good and bad, as part of the package, or end the relationship. Expecting them to change will only harbor resentment in both ends. Simply recognizing these flaws often make them significantly easier to accept in the first place. It's easier to laugh at the things that drive you crazy when you're not fighting a losing battle trying to change them. Story 11. To those not married, watch your finances like a hawk. I don't care how long you've known each other. I knew my girl for over a decade. That didn't stop her from maxing out my credit card or empty savings the day after I got laid off during the Great Recession, leaving me and promising to pay me back, but instead sending me her wedding photos a year or so later. And she got away with it. This is what I get for letting someone use my card. Banks won't cover your card when you admit to letting them use it. Since 8 years and counting, living in a small living room with my family. To those married, hide enough emergency savings in an account your spouse doesn't know about that you can use if they turn on you. Have a way out. There are so many couples out there that are still together because one of them simply has no choice but to suffer. Oh, and it goes without saying, prenup. Or, don't. Part of me hopes you don't. The whole misery loves company thing? Story 12. Honestly, just talk and listen. Understand that it takes two to dance here and that your significant other's feelings are equally important. Whenever you find things getting heated, realize this and try to talk at a lower and calmer volume. This will help diffuse the situation. Accept that you aren't always right. You aren't perfect. Neither of you are. Be right for each other. Explore what interests your significant other. Take interest in what they like, even if you don't like it. You have no idea how happy you can make someone by getting involved in what they like. Accepting that there will be arguments. Everyone's crap stinks. No one is perfect here. There's no such thing as the perfect person or relationship. Relationships, in general, take time. You need lots to adjust to, but fumbling and stumbling around is part of the experience, and learning will make you wiser for the future. No matter what, you and your happiness are first. Even if you're in a relationship, you still need to be sound of mind and heart before you can give that to someone else. Story 13. Number 1. Don't worry too much about the fact that you're doing everything perfectly. Sometimes imperfections are better. They're more fun. Number 2. Communication is key. Number 3. You can do everything right and still get burned. Number 4. While you shouldn't worry about everything constantly, you should have to be honest with yourself. When you see things taking a turn for the worst, you can't just do nothing and hope it will resolve itself. It almost never does. Number 5. Don't rush things. You have time, and if you don't, then maybe you shouldn't be in that relationship. Number 6. You're still your own person. You're not part of your significant other. You're not an extension of your significant other. Your significant other is not just another part of your life and only your life. You're not one combined person. They're their own unique person with their own unique wants, needs, and personalities, and so are you, no matter how close you are. Number 7. Nobody likes excessive PDA. Number 8. Stop interpreting everything as a sign. Sometimes they just don't want to see you. On a related note, don't feel like you are always obliged to say yes to them. Number 9. You're going to get messed up when dating, probably multiple times. It hurts, it's normal. Story 14. Talk to your significant other or partner, even about the stuff that makes things uncomfortable and tense. Open communication is key, as cliche as that sounds. Trust each other. Talk about boundaries. Don't give in to the need to check others' phones and then claim you trust each other. If you don't trust each other, find ways to build and earn that trust. Don't cheat. If you're interested in someone else, break up and chase that someone else. Don't have a significant other and then sniff around another potential partner. Not cool. Respect each other. That includes space. As much as you want to see or be around the significant other, also remember that time apart is good. Everyone needs alone time. If there's a day where your SO is too busy at work and with someone else, don't pressure them immediately or start fights because of this. Drop them a supportive text and let them deal with the unstable parts of their lives while you remain the stable constant. Don't be toxic. At the first sign of toxic behavior, stop, hit the pause button, sit down and talk it out, or if need be, seek outside help to rectify the toxicity. Therapists, friends, whatever. Story 15. There are lots of opinions that if you want to leave your relationship, you can and should, which is 100% true. However, if someone does not want to stay in a relationship with you, then they are never obliged to stay in a relationship. They have the same rights as you. If they want out, instantly let them out. Don't whine, plead, and beg. It is unbecoming. Just say goodbye and move on with your life already. Be sad for a while, sure, but just move on. Don't whine to me. I have problems of my own. Your little breakup is not important to me. Well, maybe the first time, for 15 minutes, but then, no. But if you are a coworker, then my interest level is -10 on a scale from 0 to 10. Breakups are not that bad. Don't be a drama queen looking for attention. A zillion people have somehow survived breakups. You are not special. The best thing to say if your significant other says they don't want to be in a relationship is, okay, goodbye. I'll have someone come over to pick up my stuff tomorrow. Walk out. Start dating other people tomorrow. Tomorrow. The best. I've done it. Feels great. Well, there you have it. Some straight-up, no-nonsense relationship advice from people. But hey, we're not done yet. If you're curious what to avoid in relationships, tune into our next video. What are the most common mistakes people make in a relationship? You won't want to miss story 2. See you there.